Away with Step, our first match, Heresy versus SY. If you're ready, I'm in the game and we're going to count down and start this one up.
I'm ready.
All right, well, hopefully everything goes to plan here. We'll see. If you're ready in 3, 2, 1, let's go. We are in. Welcome to the ECL. We are in the quarterfinals for the East Asia 4v4 stage. We have Heresy versus SY, our first match of the day. And joining me here is Mr. Ornley.
Hey everybody. Glad to be back. Got some Heresy versus SY here. Jumping right into it, we are of course on Step. So things are always a little bit more awkward when you have the Nomad starts. But yeah, it looks like we will have Theonor for Heresy in the yellow on the left flank as the Chinese. Pocket will be Lan in the purple as the Mayans. Other pocket will be Spring in the orange as the Franks. And finally, on the right flank will be Melkor in the red as the Mongols.
Yeah, this is quite nice. We have got Heresy up to the north of the map. So the map is split north to south with Heresy in the north and obviously SY down in the south here. On the south flank, the southeast flank for SY, there's Lix in the green. He is playing as the Mongols there. He's got a relic incredibly close to his TC, actually. That's quite nice. In the pocket position, you've got Feng Jin. He is also got a relic right next to his TC. He's playing as the Malians in the grey. In the teal, we have Yo playing as the Spanish, also with a relic directly next to his TC. And Yinghua in the blue, playing as the Chinese, also with a relic directly next to his TC, which is quite a nice little feature of this map, which I don't think we've really paid much attention to before, but the relic distribution meaning that everyone starts with that relic right next to their town center.
Yep. In team games, especially big team games like this one, it usually isn't too much of a factor. But I mean, it'll be a nice little bit of gold trickle throughout, most of the game, likely once they get to the Castle Age. But what do you think of these civs, Zach? There's a lot of crossover between the Mongols and Chinese, but then we have Heresy opting for Franks and Mayans, and SY opting for Spanish and Malians.
Yeah, I mean, on this right flank, we've got the Mongols versus the Mongols. And then on the pocket here on this right side, you're going to have that Malians versus Franks. Honestly, I quite like the Franks here because they're going to go straight into scouts, of course, and they're going to have a great scout rush as well. But then, the Mongol player probably wants to go scouts as well. So both of your right flank players are going to want to go towards scouts, whereas your left flank players are both the archer civs. So for the Heresy team up in the north, they may want to sort of cross over a little bit where they're sending their armies. They might want to have Spring sort of supporting the left side while Melkor tries to do what he can with his scouts there. But obviously then, going into the late game, things are going to change up a little bit. I like the fact that you've got the Spanish here. If it does go late for the SY team, they've got that Spanish trade bonus. Obviously, the Spanish can bring the Paladins to the table as well, which is, their sort of go-to unit in the late game. But of course, the Franks can do that just a little bit better if it goes late. So then it's a choice of having the stronger Paladins or the better trade. And then, of course, you've got the... what's different here? The
Mayans and Malians. Mayans for Heresy.
Mayans and Malians. I think, do you really need as much Spanish trade if you've got the Mayans on your team and they can just pump out, 80 plumed archers off the back of 60 economy?
Oh yeah, just Mayans things, normal, everyday Mayan stuff. But of course, Melkor will be our first player hitting the feudal age at 7:36. Very quick uptime, obviously, doing the Mongols thing. Does have one villager on gold, interestingly, but I still think it's likely to be just normal scouts opening here. Not as common on the flank, but Mongols can just get such a quick uptime that you can really just go for the scouts super fast and even much faster than his Mongol counterpart in Lix, who's clicking up 3 villagers later.
Well, he's actually going to throw down the archery range. I think that one villager on the gold may have been a little heads up for that, because really here in this position, like I said before, you've got Spring in the pocket as the Franks here, and you know your standard sort of combo is going to be archers and scouts. There's nothing wrong with our Mongol player going into archers when your pocket player is the Franks and can start making those stronger scouts right from the start of the feudal age. So Melkor's the first up, of course, followed, like you say, by Yingguar on the left side. He's doing double ranges. That's probably going to be mirrored by Fëanor over here. But actually, will it? I mean, maybe Fëanor will actually go into scouts here. We'll see if he... No, he's going on to gold.
No,
Okay.
no, his 3 on gold. He'll be going for archers. Yeah, I was surprised that with the super fast uptime that Melkor is going into archers, because that does require a bit more distribution on your economy. So usually you have a little bit of a later uptime, as we can see Lix doing, for example. You can see that they're actually getting their archery ranges up at about the same time, but obviously Lix will have had a little bit of a stronger economy going into that. But obviously Melkor is here at the party.
Yeah, well, he's going to get the sort of first mover's advantage, I suppose. He's the one that's already pressuring Lix before Lix has even made a single unit. Of course, Lix here could just add a couple of walls and wait for his pocket to send over some units as well. But looking at Feng Jin right now, yeah, there you go. The stable's up and the scouts are on the way. So the support is going to be there from the pocket. And we're going to be seeing both Mongol players going for the archers, both pockets going for the scouts. But Spring's going to have those Frank scouts, and Feng Jin, meanwhile, is going to have the Malian scouts. So it should be advantage Heresy in the early stage of the feudal age here, especially since Melkor got up a little faster, can get the aggression going a little faster, and since they have the stronger scouts from Spring as well.
Yeah, so we've seen this a lot, actually, from Heresy throughout the tournament. They are definitely a much more aggressive team, I feel. I feel like they go for the very early uptimes when possible, go for the early aggression, try and get some damage done onto their opponents, possibly not thinking that their team play is as strong in the late game, perhaps. But looks like you got the good old Archer plus Scout dance going on here. Lix taking some losses early on. Of course, the Scouts, though, from Feng Jin running right into the Spearman of Spring, who's added a lot of Spearmen.
This
really,
is great
really
for Heresy. This is really good for Heresy. Spring sending those spears forward. They'll pick off the whole army of Lix. Both of the armies actually going down. So Feng Jin with a single scout left can't do anything. He has to get out of there. A tower forced up now from Lix. He could lose a couple of villagers here. There's one down with a few more archers coming in. Nice to see the teamwork here from Heresy as well. Melkor really focusing down on the spearmen from Lix to support Spring's scouts as best he can. That tower looks like it's going to go up, but the damage has been done. Military deficit for the SY team over here, and of course, a loss of villagers as well. The scouts coming over from Feng Jin just not enough, and a lot of idle time from Lix as well, as those villagers are hopped into that tower.
Yeah, I mean, we see Lix down to 17 villagers right now. I mean, he's down a good 10 or 12 villagers compared to most other players in the game right now, which is obviously a complete disaster. Notably, in that fight, we did see
sorry
Fletching.
to interrupt real quick. Left side, Fëanor's going to catch the archers of Yingguar as well. So for Heresy, this is a phenomenal start. This is exactly what they need.
Yeah, I was just saying that in that earlier fight, we did see Melkor with Fletching, whereas I don't think Lix had it, like right when the fight began, and so he was able to really just do a ton of damage to the villagers.
Yeah, he has it now, but I think, yeah, if he didn't have it during the fight, then that's a big problem. And of course, now Spring and Melkor are going to turn their attention toward Feng Jin in the pocket position. His villagers are out in the open here, could be picked off by the scouts of Spring as well, as he runs towards his allies' town center. Mr. Yo seems to be a little quiet around the map right now. That's because he's going straight up for a naked fast castle. No support for his teammates. Is this going to cost them? Is this going to cost SY, leaving the support, the pocket player just going straight up to castle and leaving the flanks to sort of die here?
Well, I mean, if my own team games are any indication, my pockets will always go naked FC, and I will always die on flank. So I think that's really not a great sign. I feel like going naked FC, especially on a map this open, is so risky. just totally
I agree.
leaving Yinghua to himself. But at least Yinghua was like prepared. He was walled.
Yeah, he was walled, which is good, right? But Mr. Yo's economy now looking pretty poor. He's trying to rush up this castle as fast as he can, but his gold income has basically been denied. He's going to have to move over to the gold mine on the right so that that castle can defend it. His stone's been pushed off. He's had to build a tower in his wood line. It's just not looking good for Mr. Yo at the moment, and it looks like now the Heresy team, they're all going to converge onto Yinghua, all three players here at the moment, with the exception of Fëanor, who's actually coming over. So all four of them knocking on Yinghua's door at the moment.
Oh yeah, Yinghua not gonna want to let them in, and I think he might have a few more archers here than Lan.
He also has +1 defense, which is going to be a big help. And so I
Oh
think
yeah,
Lan needs to back up out of here a little bit. Needs to be careful. Yinghua can pick all those archers off.
yeah, we do see Spring as well trying to nab a villager or two of Yo. Thankfully for him, he does have the Conquistadors out. One of the scariest unique units in the Castle Age, of course. Just so much damage per unit. And yeah, I think we might see Heresy forced back a little bit, especially now that the Conquistadors are out. Once you have three of them, you can one-shot the archers, and that's going to be obviously a bit tricky here for the Feudal Age units.
We do have SY actually pushing out a little more now as well. We saw Feng Jin moving out to do some damage. We see Lix catching some villagers from Spring out in the middle of the map. These guys perhaps a little bit too confident in their position, and as a result, overextending a little with those villagers. So we'll lose some there. That's Spring losing about 5 vills or more. And meanwhile, they're kind of in quite deep, so they've got to be very careful, as you say, about those conquistadors, which could chase them down.
Yeah, certainly. Poor little horse there dying for Fëanor. Very sad. But yeah, we have Fëanor about to hit Castle Age. Lan is on his way up. But notably, Spring not up yet, and he's in the pocket. You'd usually expect,
Oh, yeah.
especially a Frank player to be up, but he's just about to click up. Going to be not in as great a spot, especially considering that, his counterpart in Fengshen is in a pretty bad spot. He's got some archers running around in his base, but Conquistadors, I feel like, are going to potentially do a lot of damage.
Yeah, that's true, actually. It's interesting. Obviously, Spring made a lot of scouts here. I think maybe the Heresy team thought that they could push their advantage a little more, and maybe they will try and do that now. They have got to be careful, of course. Those conquistadors now moving across the map. We've got Mr. Yo with 5 of them heading down the center. He's going to be scouted by Fëanor, who can sort of give the heads up. He'll lose all of his scouts, of course. We'll delay them a little bit and give Spring perhaps a little bit of time to prepare. Maybe Lan will prepare. But, Lan's got quite a lot of archers here. He'll have a lot of crossbows in a few seconds. I think he can pick off those conquistador. In this position, I feel like a nice early ballistics is great, especially if you're sort of defending from conquistador with crossbows.
Yeah, certainly. You're going to want to be able to, pick off those very quick moving conquistadors. Camel's running in here for Fëanor. I don't think there should be enough of them.
No, I think that with a bit of micro, I think Yo could possibly clean it up. It's actually hard to say. They're doing quite a bit of damage here.
Yeah, notably the camels do have bloodlines and +1 armor. Conquistadors, meanwhile, were totally unupgraded. So that could have been a bit of a factor. We'll be sending out more conquistadors, but you are very much limited in your production of conquistadors in the early Castle Age as well. You only have the one castle, so you're really going to want to retain as many of your units as possible. So losing a few there, not really ideal for Yo.
Yeah, it looks like a difference of husbandry as well there, helping Fëanor to close down the gap and prevent Mr. Yo from microing as he would have liked. So a big army from Lan pushing out now, 24 crossbow. There are 23 defending crossbow from Yinghua, but we are going to have a lot more cavalry support coming in from Fëanor, who's on 2 stables, compared to Mr. Yo, who's on the single castle and is producing Conquistador right now. So they're going to bust open the front door of Yinghua, entering into his base now, see what they can find.
Yeah, really, we see our blue player between a rock and a hard place right now. You have all of these units from Lan in his base right now, and he has to be careful not to let the Knights of Fëanor close the distance from the other side. He does have Yo here to support now. Looks like kind of have sort of inverted positions of the armies from what you would expect. So we do see Heresy a little bit trapped right now, potentially. But
Yeah, and Fëanor's
Yeah,
got to be careful because he doesn't have +2 defense, which is not good against this number of crossbow.
not at all. And, well, Yinghua does have a castle up at this point. He's still on the 1 TC, so obviously very defensive play from him, needing to do so considering his pocket went for FC Conks. But he really shouldn't be taking much damage here, I feel. And actually, we see SY going on the offensive now.
Yeah, they're obviously very confident in that defense there. They're like, okay, yes, your army is inside of our walls. We don't care. We have a castle. We have defenses in place. We're going to counterattack. And I don't think that Fëanor can defend that nearly as well as Yinghua. He's obviously got 3 TCs up right now, so that's going to help. And that obviously will put him ahead economically, but not if they start to take a lot of damage from leaving their base undefended like this.
Yeah, we see Len trying to not let his reinforcing crossbows get caught out. Notably, he does have that +2 armor as well, and looks at least fairly well defended at home. Maybe a few farmers around the periphery of Lan's economy could get picked off, but I think generally he'll be okay. Of course, Mayans do have those cheap crossbowmen, so he'll be able to churn out plenty of them, and ideally for Heresy right now, they should just be trying to fend off all this Castle Age pressure from SY and get that big economic lead that they want.
Yeah, down in the south, meanwhile, we've got Melkor going quite deep once again with Spring. They always seem to be behind enemy lines, these guys. And I'm wondering if they, have actually done enough damage over here. I see Melkor with more deaths than kills and Spring with a pretty bad KD as well. In fact, across the board, Heresy seem to have lost more than they've gained throughout this game. However, the villager counts, at a glance, it looks pretty even as well. So I'd say SY probably have a small edge at the moment.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because the scores are pretty much dead even right now, but none of the Heresy guys have a positive kill-death ratio. They might have a slight lead economically, like, as a whole, but, when you're looking at a 4v4, it's kind of easy. Even if one player falls a little bit behind, the other 3 can somewhat compensate for that, but it looks like we might have a big old battle here in the middle of the map.
Oh yeah, everything's sort of coming together now. Let's see if we if Heresy can catch them, sorry. Sort of everyone's coming together. They're like, right, we've done enough raiding. It's time to fight. Let's see. Fëanor's going to run headlong into... Oh, that's Feng's in, sorry, my bad. Fëanor coming down with his knights now. Spring coming over as well. Upgrade-wise, we're still missing that +2 defense from Fëanor. They're coming in to engage now. Lan's wrapping around on the side, though. Lan has a huge number of crossbow. It's a time for SY, I think, to get the hell out of there. Those Frank Knights with +2 defense should be able to close down onto the crossbow as well as they run away. And I just think the lack of knights there from the SY team hurting them significantly. Mr. Yo just cannot contribute enough to that fight with those Conquistador.
Yeah, and that's a lot of archers from Lan, just right in the beginning of that fight. The first thing I noticed is Lan has a lot of crossbows. Like, he singly has more crossbows than everyone on SY put together. Of course, again, he is a pocket player, and Mayans have those cheap crossbows, like I was saying, but that definitely helped a ton in sort of the ranged firepower, just really doing so much damage from the back. Of course, the crossbowmen are going to be a much more important factor of damage in these sorts of knight crossbow army comps. The knight's just mainly there as a tanking meat shield. So really, again, as you're saying, that lack of knight from Yo is just going to be a really big problem as we see Lix really getting hammered right now.
Yeah, and I think that firmly puts Heresy in the lead at the moment. And not only that, but, the crossbow, they're not great at chasing down retreating units, but they make it so that if you overextend, you definitely pay the price. And as you're running away, you're getting cut down as well if you have overextended. So a really good fight for Heresy there. Now they're going to sort of move back, maybe look for another angle. Looks like they're going in towards Fengjin. They're going to find some villagers on that TC. And you know what? They've got enough knights here. I think they just take the TC down.
Yeah, I certainly think they should be able to. I mean, I think another big problem there for SY was that the actual guy going for knights in Fengshin took a lot of damage in the feudal age, so he really didn't have the knight numbers that you want to have. So it's just like even further compounding the problem of lack of knight here for SY. And Lan's about to hit the Imperial Age fairly soon. Yes, Yo is on his way up himself, but Imperial Age doesn't really bring as much for the Spanish, I would say, as it does for Mayans. Of course, you're able to get Arbalest, Bracer, Chemistry, whereas Elite Conquistador isn't really much of a big power spike. You really want to go for the Paladins when possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think he will do that, to be honest. But at the moment, I'm seeing a lack of stables at the moment from Mr. Yo. Just so you know, I'm at 33 minutes, 10 seconds right now. And we're seeing that TC from Feng Jin at about half health. A nice play by Heresy, actually, to try and chase down those Mangonels. Fëanor scouted it and... sort of communicated that to his team. They quickly dealt with the Mangonels, and we didn't see any big Mangonel hits, much to our disappointment, but much to the pleasure of Heresy, I'm sure. The town center here may end up going down in the end, but first they've got to clean up those knights from Feng Jin, and I just don't see how Feng Jin can take that fight there. I don't know how Lix can take that fight. It's essentially 2v3 or 2v4 in this location.
Yeah, and poor Lix has just been getting hammered all game long. He's only at 43 villagers right now. Spring is in him with knights. Now we do see our purple player land up to the Imperial Age, is getting some villagers picked off. We'll have this castle denied, at least for the time being. Zach, is it time for the Obsidian Arrows Masterpiece? Because that's a lot of crossbowmen.
Which castle was being denied, sorry?
Of land. It's right near Spring's base, but he should be able to go back to it now. He just lost 6 or 7 villagers.
Yeah, I see that now. My bad. I was looking at a different castle. He was building 2 at the same time, as Mayan players like to do. They need a lot of castles. Feng Jin on the front, losing that TC now. Villagers going down there, so villagers being traded both ways. And like say, Lan up to the Imperial Age before anyone else. The castles are going up. This is the perfect position for the Mayan player now to start just maxing out their population with plumed archers.
Yeah, of course, Mayans, not the most population-efficient army, but it is so cheap and so cost-efficient that in this sort of late castle, early Imperial Age stage, you can just really hammer down your opponents with a ton of ranged units, and that seems to be exactly what Lan is going to do. He's at 150 population, first, highest population in the game by a mile, 53 army. I'm not sure what SY plans on doing to stop this. He was going for the Cavalier, but he didn't really have the massive economy to make that switch happen easily.
No, and like we saw before, the Franks will always outperform the Spanish with that heavy cavalry, but fortunately for SY, Spring is quite far behind in his Imperial Age upgrade. He's not clicked it yet. He's still trying to boom at the moment, as he's got the lowest villager count on his team and the second lowest in the game, but look at Mr. Yo's base right now. These guys are going in deep, and you know what? They might end up paying the price here. If that Cavalier upgrade comes in, Yinghua's at the back here with some Chuko Nu as well. Damage is certainly being done to Mr. Yo's economy, but it looks like all of the Knights from Spring will get cleaned up, and that means that Spring is basically sidelined for a little while because he's not Imperial, and his Knights are really not going to do much over the next 5-10 minutes of the game until he gets Imp and gets Cavalier himself.
Yeah, I was not a big fan of that fight at all. From right before that fight, we saw Lan throw away most of his crossbowmen, just to getting surrounded by Feng Jin and Lix. And now we're starting to see SY, making some noise in this game. Got a little bit of a night run by from Feng Jin. Doesn't seem like it'll accomplish much, but I am looking at Yinghua right now, who's at 115 villagers, so solid economy for him.
Mm-hmm.
We did see a fair amount of Fëanor slinging as he's throwing down fortified walls, true to the nature of Chinese. But yeah, that's a lot of Chuko Nu that can really, represent a much more powerful late game, eventually, once the plumed archers sort of run out of steam.
Yeah, obviously they're going to have the Cavalier here, and soon they'll have the Paladin, as Mr. Yo has started that upgrade now as well. And I think the big thing here is that Spring hasn't clicked up to Imp yet, and Mr. Yo's already on the way up to Paladin. It's all well and good saying, well, Franks have the better Paladins, but you actually need to get them out on the field if you want them to actually do anything. Now, the other big thing here, though, is Lix. I mean, Lix right now is going to get absolutely smashed on this east side. The other Mongol player, Melkor, is Imperial. He has got Mangadai inside of Lix's base, and you need that Mangadai player to be at full power in the late game, And at this rate, Lix might not be able to get there very easily. And Melkor is already well on his way right now after completing Parthian tactics. Bloodlines coming in, and the upgrades are starting to pile onto those Mangudai.
Yeah, usually it's pretty hard to go for your own Mangudai when your opponent has like 4 castles in your base. It's usually kind of a bit of an impediment, I would say. And yeah, Lix is well on his way to losing his starting TC, and of course he's just been getting absolutely rolled all game long, and obviously he's just kind of paying for it, and we really see this another huge concentrated push here from our Heresy team, really going to try and, I think, deal the killing blow right here.
I feel like this is probably like 89, 90% Heresy's game right now if they don't make any serious mistakes. If you consider the position of Lix and how that east flank is going to start to crumble underneath Melkor, and at the same time, you've got this huge army of plumed archers and now siege rams pushing forward as well. I think it's going to be tough for SY to hold on. They will do what they can, but I think Mr. Yo is going to be spread quite thin. The Paladin upgrade just completing, though. That's certainly going to help. Where is Fëanor in all of this? Is he just slinging, or is he... What is he doing at the moment?
No, he's just slinging. He's just been slinging land most of this time. And notably, plumed archers really don't deal that well with paladins. It's just a matter of the paladins having all that extra HP from Cavalier, and I think, importantly, that extra 1 pierce armor. And yeah, it's only 2 damage a hit from the plumed archers, and now that we're seeing more and more fully upgraded elite Chukonu from Yanghua, who's just been quietly like becoming a massive military and economic power in this game right now, this actually might not be a done deal here for Heresy, despite Lix's terrible position.
It's not an absolutely done deal yet, but I would have liked to see Fëanor perhaps going for heavy camel or something here. You know, I understand why he wouldn't maybe want to go Chukonu when your pocket is a Mayan player, but I think adding some camels in this position could have been a wise choice. Meanwhile, though, I mean, Fëanor could be sending out resources to Spring so he can get his stronger paladins up, and then you're looking at Frank Paladin and Plumed Archer versus Spanish Paladin and Chukonu, which I think I'd favor the Mayans and Franks there. But then on the right side, you still have this issue of Melkor, so even if they can sort of stabilize on the left side, the right side is still going to get harder and harder and harder as Melkor's completing Elite Mangudai now.
Yeah, Melkor just sort of coming into his own with fully upgraded Elite Mangudai. Of course, it is a bit of a lengthy transition for Mongols, but it's sort of, you know, once you get there, you feel like you haven't made. And we do have a lot of heavy camels here for Fengshen.
Yeah,
fully upgraded minus... yeah, not having Farimba just yet, but has all the other upgrades. And heavy camels will at least deal okay with Mangudai, if not amazingly. Of course, it's just a matter of can they close the gap, and without a meat shield, I feel like eventually we will see the cavalry close a gap onto the Mangudai. So I'd say this one, yes, Heresy has the lead, but oh, I just reached the drop.
Okay, I'm going to reach the drop in a second then here. So just for those watching, this game does drop, and we have part 2 ready to load up in just a second, so hold on tight. I think you were a little bit ahead of me there. I'm just watching the Mangudai fighting against those camels. They're microing very well, actually. Melkor just backing up, splitting them into 2 groups, and doing a really good job of microing that army down. If you're ready, we'll load up part 2.
We'll go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm a little bit ahead. The new computer is just too powerful.
Yeah, well, I'm on the streaming PC as well. It's pretty powerful, but obviously we're also running the stream. But if you're ready, I'll count this down.
Yep, ready whenever you are.
3, 2, 1. Go. And here you go. We should see the Mangudai winning this fight, I believe, especially with the castle to retreat to. We don't see any siege from Feng Jin, so the best he can do is try and engage the Mangudai, and if he starts to get the upper hand, Melkor just runs back to his castle and regroups. In the center of the map, we still only have knights out for Spring at the moment, but just look at the number of plumed archers. 120 plumed archers for Lan on the field. He's actually rivaling the combined army count of Mr. Yo and Yinghua on the left side.
Yeah, that's a lot of plumed archers. Of course, mines don't really need many villagers in the late game because the army is so darn cheap, but what you do need are castles, and Lan is well on his way to losing a couple right now. He will still have, what, 4
Yeah,
castles after that?
yeah.
So that is still certainly enough for plumed archer production, but yeah, losing castles, literally the last thing you want to be doing as mines at this point in the game. We have a lot of skirmishers here for Yinghua, not a common
Oh,
unit to see in team games.
sorry, a huge fight on that east side. Mr. Yo trying to run in with the
Oh.
paladins, actually getting caught out a little bit there. He ran straight into Spring's Cavalier and then had the Mangadai behind. And a nice quick wall from Melkor. He's trapped them in. And every single one of those paladins is going to get butchered in that little corner. Really clutch play for Heresy and a huge blow to Mr. Yo right there.
There was a hero Mangudai there, Zach. It was just one Mangudai holding off in a storm of paladins blocking the exit. You know, the Gandalf "You shall not pass" between the archery range and the siege workshop, and that totally
Oh,
cornered
man.
Yo right there. And that, I think, really swings things in favor of Team Heresy. We see Yinghua starting to collapse without the meat shield support of his teammate Yo, and I really think that this is Heresy's game to take right now. Should they go out and take it?
Absolutely. Mr. Yo there, leaving Yinghua alone, trying to make a play. It backfired, and now Heresy can regain that left side control, especially since Spring is now going to have Paladin in just a few moments' time, so they can start to really push through there and start to do the damage. Meanwhile, Lix has fallen right back into the corner of the map. He's trying to reboom, while Melkor actually is just sort of, like I said before, falling back to his castles because he's sending a lot of his Mangadai to the left side. It looks like they want to win that left side once and for all, and they're going to make one really big push now with the Paladin of Spring. He has 69 Paladins on the field, Frank Paladins. All he's lacking is Blast Furnace, and that's on the way now.
Yeah, there's I think very little that Yinghua and Yo can do to stop this. We have 16 military currently for Yo. That is it's not really enough, as we just see this massive army from Heresy rolling right on into the base of Yinghua, and oh boy, this
Oh
is
boy.
not going to be too pleasant here for our Chinese team.
Well, they don't have much siege, but do they really need it? They can just brute force a victory here with this huge, massive units on this left flank. They're going to take down some of that fledgling trade as well. There's Mangadai running toward the back lines. A lot of these trade carts just being built for the first time, unable to even complete a single journey before getting cut down by those Mangadai right there. We've even got Fëanor involved. He is starting to switch into heavy camels now, like I thought he would. Obviously a little bit later on in the game, but that's going to mean that all Heresy players are up to full power, and that means that this game is well and truly theirs by the looks of things.
Yeah, and definitely strong showing from them in game number 1. I think that they had some very well executed aggression, and it's what I think has been most successful for them in ECL so far. And yeah, we can definitely see SY, definitely a more defensive team in nature, I would say. Not really as well prepared as they might have been. And
I have to
yeah.
say, Heresy do seem to always perform well when they go for this very high aggression strategy, right? This time around, they upped really early. They took map control from the early feudal age. All of them went for feudal aggression, whereas when you look at SY, you have Mr. Yo playing a little more greedy, going for the castle age aggression, and it didn't work out because Heresy just had the map control, they had the momentum, and they kind of held on to it as well, with a little bit of sling from Fëanor to give that Mayan player the power spike, and then buying Spring some time to get to Imp and get his paladins out. I feel like once those paladins were on the field, that was it. The left side now is going to completely go down, as they just can't engage there. They don't have the numbers, and they don't have the momentum.
Not at all, especially with Fëanor now joining the party. Player 4 has entered the game, and yeah, of course, it is SY. They will probably wait until they're around 3 to 4 population to resign, but I
Sounds
don't
like a good
really...
number.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty, adequate bet. Oh, what do you know? Nilly showing some love for his team in chat.
Heresy, heresy, heresy. Thanks for the resub, Nilly. And looks like your team's doing pretty well right here. Looks like they're on for a Game 1 win as Mr. Yo completes fortified wall on the left side and tries to rebuild the markets here. They really don't want to give this up, do they? But the writing is definitely on the wall at the moment as both sides are pushing in. Melkor on the east and the rest of the team on the west. Although, look at that. Lick's coming in from the rear, but GG is called.
Yeah, really, I'm disappointed that with both Chinese players going for fortified walls, there was not the great wall tech researched. It was so perfect, it could have been there, but alas.
Well, Fëanor never really got pushed, I guess, so
yeah,
for him, it wouldn't have made sense. But for Yinghua, maybe. He was never really fully walled either, though. He didn't really stonewall up completely. He left quite a big opening across the front of his base. So I would have liked to see Great Wall. It's a fun tech, but I think it only would have been viable in this game if Fëanor had been pushed. But yes, well played from Heresy there. We kind of talked over a couple of the points already. The fact that they were faster up to feudal and they tried to keep that momentum going for them. They continued to keep the pressure up and they converted that into a win.
Yeah, just really well played from them. I am reminded now that there's been a lot of ECL. Middle East 3v3, they pushed Frantic to game number 3, and Frantic has an insanely strong 3v3 team, so they definitely can push these top teams to the limit, and that's something that I think ECL has been really great at, is that all the teams can take matches and games off of all the other teams, so at least we have a ton of very close and competitive series, and this is shaping up to be just that.
Yeah, I'm actually very happy for Heresy here, getting a victory. We'll see if they can convert it into a set win, because, you know, it would be considered an upset if Heresy were to take out SY in round 1, especially since SY are the second team in the league at the moment. Just having a quick look at the stats then. Lan with the most units killed. A very solid performance from him. And quite a bit of sling received from Fëanor as well there.
Oh yeah, of course it is Age of Sling the Mayans. If I know anything about my team games, it's definitely really strong to sling your Mayans player, and Lan, you know, to his credit, just ran with it and really just snowballed that late castle, early Imperial Age that Mayans are so good at doing.
You know, I do wonder if SY will adapt to this, whether or not in the next game they will just wall harder, or if they will try and be more aggressive themselves. Maybe they won't play so greedy with the pocket player going for a fast castle. Although that might all be debatable anyway, because of course the next map will be Salt Marsh, and that may play out a little differently to Steppe, believe it or not.
What?
A different map, a different strategy. How could this be?
Yes. I guess that one isn't a drop, so we'll all go back to the same room.
Yes, that's the plan. We're going to do that now. We're going to go into game 7, I believe.
Yep.
All right, and then we'll wait for Mr. Robo to launch it up. I think he can just launch it now, unless there's other spectators needing to come in.
Yeah, of course. Any other streamer can just catch up real quick. Yep. What civs do you think we should expect to see on Salt Marsh of all maps? Like, do we see like the big water civs like Malay or Italians or something like that? Or are we just going to be seeing more land-oriented strategies?
I think Japanese are a good pick here, to be honest. They're in the civ pool for a start, and if you're going to pick the Japanese on one of these maps, I think Salt Marsh makes the most sense. It's a little bit unreliable with the fishing, but if you can sort of lock that down, then they're obviously going to be great. But they're also a great land civ as well. Very versatile in the early to mid game. So we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, I think they're a great pick. As far as the civ pool goes, if anyone's interested in checking the civ pool, you can see it on the escape.gg website, and it's on the homepage. We've already seen the Chinese, the Mongols, and that's about it from the civ pool so far. So both teams have to pick 2 more civs from this pool. We could see something like the Indians or the Burmese, simply because of just how strong they are in general here.
Yeah, definitely. I actually think Burmese are probably a little underplayed for how powerful I'd say they are in team games. Haven't really seen them a ton so far, but looks like we will be getting into the game here. See what the Salt Marsh has to offer us. A map that historically has not been played often, but I
Yeah.
think now that the map has been changed a little bit,
Well, it's been
uh,
fixed, right? I mean, it used
yeah.
to be considered very uncompetitive because of its imbalancedness, but it's supposedly been fixed now. So, speaking of fixing, I'm just going to very quickly fix the positioning of the score table. I'm going to move that over to here, and I'm going to also fix our little overlay thing by removing it. There we go. All right. Well, there we go. Welcome everybody to game 2, Heresy versus SY. That is right. Heresy is leading 1-0, as you can see by the scoreboard. This is going to be a 4v4 Salt Marsh game for game 2. I'm interested to see how this develops. I have not seen this map played too competitively since, as you just said, Ornlu, it was only recently fixed, and we haven't seen it all that often.
Yeah, definitely. It does still sort of retain that classic asymmetry of, classic salt marsh, but it is a lot more balanced. There are, I think, a lot less fish. Kind of have the shallows, I think, a little bit further from your base. But all of that aside, let's introduce the teams here. Winning game number 1, kind of sprawling across the northeastern bit of the map.
The
We
northeastern bit, yeah, okay.
sort of place thing. But we will have Melkor in the red on the north flank as the Vikings.
Okay.
Pocket will be his brother Fëanor in the yellow as the Japanese. Other pocket will be Lan in the orange as the Portuguese. And finally, rounding things out will be Spring in his favorite Huns in the purple on the right flank.
All right. So it looks like the Portuguese were picked here as a Civ pool pick, and also the Japanese are a Civ pool pick. Even the Huns are in the Civ pool as well. So only the Vikings here, actually, from outside of the Civ pool. Interesting, because the Civs here for the Heresy team seem to be mostly water focused. Vikings, Portuguese, Japanese, considered to be some of the best water civs in the game. And then, of course, the Huns, which aren't too bad themselves on the old water. Across the other side of the marsh, we've got Feng Jin playing in the grey to the south. He's on that flank, playing as the Huns. So it's Huns versus Huns there. And by the way, any surprise that Spring is the Huns. Yinghua in the pocket playing as the Franks. Interesting choice there. Viking pocket for Mr. Yo in the teal, and then the west flank, sorry, in the green. It's Lix playing as the Portuguese. So difference here being the Franks pick from Yinghua compared to the I want to say the Japanese pick, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, first, I just wanted to, before I forgot, there was a lame from Fengshin where he took one of Spring's boar. You can see he's stuck pushing deer right now. So that's not really the greatest start here for our player in purple. And I just wanted to say that in case you didn't know, Zach, you can see, obviously, there are a ton of forage bushes on this map. So I definitely think Franks make a ton of sense here, especially as just a cavalry powerhouse in the pocket as they tend to be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 forage bushes to a mill there. That's a lot of bush. And Yinghua with that faster gathering speed, I expect then we're gonna see scouts coming out from him just to try and harass as much as he can around the map. But I feel like in general this map's very easy to wall up, and you can see already Melkor in the north, for example. He's just like, yep, just gonna wall my vills in. Super easy.
Oh yeah, certainly. I remember in the 2v2 stage for East Asia that there was a fair amount of just walling and fast castling. And I think that should probably be a pretty strong strategy on this map. It's kind of weird because you have all of this area that is navigable by ships, but you don't really have any fish. So it's like
Yeah.
there isn't much intrinsic value to winning water other than the fact that water units are better than land units, just pound for pound.
That's true. I think, well, they're great for map control, obviously. You know, having the water units here will give you a lot of value just for the map control alone. Obviously, it's not purely for the fish. There will be some fish around, but it's really they're so far spaced that it's not really worth fishing, I feel, unless you get lucky and find a couple of fish together. But for the most part here, players up to the feudal age, we'll see if we do see any docks coming up, but it looks like at the moment it looks to be a land-based aggression for now.
Yeah, when you're not playing Arabia, when in doubt, make the map Arabia. And kind of what we're seeing right now, just a little bit of more walling, I'd say, than is normal. But everyone should probably be doing their normal sort of meta strats. I think all of these civs can do that just fine as far as like scouts from pocket, archers, or some sort of aggression from the flank. And I see 5 villagers forward here from Lick, so we might be seeing some Age of Towers here.
Oh yeah, that's true. I'm just gonna there we go. Fix some things. Got it. I haven't cast on this PC before, so I'm noticing that some things are out of place. Thanks to the chat for tipping me off. The chat are the true experts here. But
Always.
always. So Lick's coming forward then, and like you say, he's got a really good position to place a tower behind this wood line because, well, it's right behind a wood line, and Melkor doesn't see it. So too bad. That's going to be disrupted. He's going to have to move them back. Fortunately, his second lumber camp is safe.
Yeah, thankfully for Melkor, it's not one of those situations put 2 lumber camps on 1 wood line. Otherwise, that would be a total unmitigated disaster. But Lix will be able to get this tower up, and Melkor will be a little bit sad, but he's probably going to go for a fast castle if I had to guess. That's a pretty late up time for a flank.
It looks like it, and I think as well the same could be said for the other pockets here. Look how late he is. I mean, look at this. He's going to be the last one up by a long way, and he's up to 27 vills. It could also be some kind of sling, but it does look like it's more likely to be a fast castle at the moment.
He could go for a sling, and he certainly would do so if he was boring, but I think that FC crossbows would probably do pretty well here, just to take some map control, throw down some extra TCs behind it, use the power of the Viking economy just to sort of leverage that advantage. I mean, Portuguese are a pretty slow civ. I think Melkor can take a lot of advantage of it.
Yeah, sorry. I don't disagree. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at Project Belgium.
Oh yeah,
He protect, he attack, but most importantly, he got a second wood line in the back.
This is what happens when you have Belgium on your stream all the time, and he just makes these silly jokes.
I love it. I love it. But they're trying now to break in onto Spring on the right side. Spring is like, I'm only the Huns. Don't make me wall. I only have palisades. But the walls are burning, but Spring is there, and he's not going to be out of walls anytime soon. I'm surprised they've not gone for a tower behind Spring's wood line. There it is. It was only a matter of time. Spring's in there with just a single villager to build that, and I think Spring will not see it. But fortunately, he does have a second wood line in the back. He's just placed it down now. He must have done a palisade scan because he's moving away without even seeing the tower there. So well played to Spring, being aware of these things. What you would expect of a player at this level, of course.
Yeah, and he does know that he has stone in the back, so he will have access to that.
Demo raft! Demo raft!
Oh, where?
Oh, baby! Lan gets 3 men-at-arms and a scout.
Oh, I see.
Boom!
I see the corpses just floating in the marshes.
Well, that worked wonderfully for him, and maybe we will see Heresy going for more demo rafts this game. That's what I like to see. Fëanor, quite a few scouts. It looks like he's bringing them home for now because he wants to perhaps defend from I don't know what, actually. Is he under any pressure? I'm not sure.
Nope.
Not sure why he doesn't just go out with his skirms and try and pressure Licks to prevent Melkor getting towered and cornered here.
I think he's going to do just that right now.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
Ask and I shall receive, Zach.
So,
but yeah,
Yeah, having
What are
the
you scrimmage
skirms
gonna
here
go
is
down?
super nice. Obviously, he can pick off the spears a little bit easier. Quick walls coming up for licks or semi-quick walls. I thought he would try and wall the villagers in, but I think the spearmen are doing a good enough job to defend for now that Fëanor can't deny that second tower. On the right side, I see some scouts going in to Lan at the moment. Lan's done a good job on the water, and it makes sense to have some water presence. But those scouts will do very little now because Lan has, of course, just built a second TC, and it looks like the Castle Age is in for Melkor as well, as you predicted earlier on.
Yep, one villager might get picked off if Yinghua's paying attention, which he isn't, running right TC, usually not the best idea. Actually, even losing a scout there. But yeah, I mean, Lan looking to be in a pretty nice spot. Yes, he was towered, but unfortunately, those archers in the Tower of Fengshan just can't reach the gold miners. So Lan's actually just fine right now. Up
Oh,
to that second TC, has these galleys for map control, and let's see what he can get done with it. I'm not really sure what exactly.
well, I like the fact that most of Heresy are walled in right now, and they're pretty safe at home. The question is, is giving up all this map control worth it? What are they going to do to push out? How are they going to push out? What are they going to build? At the moment, we see Lan focusing on making galleys, and maybe we'll see that war galley upgrade. I wonder if he can actually range anything from the shores here. It doesn't look like he'll be able to reach much at the moment. Maybe just these villagers on the wood line here from Mr. Yo. But he can, as the game goes on, start to deny the extra golds or the resources that are closer to the edge of the marsh.
Yeah, we do have Melkor coming in with some longboats.
Ooh, nice.
Gotta love seeing those guys. Of course, not actually surprising at all now that we are playing on the expansions. Obviously, not needing to build a castle did the trick in terms of allowing Viking players to get those guys up and running. Running into the tower might not be the best idea, trying to pick off a few straggler crossbowmen. But obviously, longboats just represent so much firepower on the water, especially with the Viking warship discount. But again, we don't really see any water play here at all from SY.
No.
So, what are the ships going to accomplish other than just defending themselves?
I'm just flicking through the players now. There's not a single dock up from the SY team, and Heresy have 3 players making boats right now. You've got Melkor making the longboats, you've got Lan making those galleys, and you've got Spring with a couple of docks as well. Meanwhile, the SY team seem to be focusing fully on the land. You've got knights coming over from Yinghua, you've got crossbows out from Yo, and I'm not sure what Fengshan's doing. Is he slinging? I think he is. Oh no, he's just gone up to castle. My bad.
Yeah, because he did go for the very heavy aggressive age, which I'd say worked out pretty well for him. But Yo is actually building his first dock right now, and Fëanor is slinging Melkor by the looks of things.
Well, I'll tell you what else is working out pretty well. That land aggression we were talking about. Yinghua killing off a lot of villagers in Spring's gold area here on the east of the map. And, those longboats, they can't reach the knights. So, it's all well and good saying, hey, well, you get some map control. But if you're just going to run straight by and slip the knights in through the open door and do a lot of damage, then, well, that's it. The damage is done. And Spring now, with only 28 villagers, he's got a lot less than anyone else in this game.
Oh yeah, not a great start here for our American hero whatsoever. And
Our American hero. I mean, your
Our
American hero.
our American hero, Zach. It's okay. We'll take you guys back. But yeah, Fengshan's actually saying if at first you don't succeed, tower again. And now Lan is actually having some wood lines denied right now, and as more and more watchtowers start to creep up.
That's true, but I think Lan's economy is looking pretty good as well. Speaking of economy, it's actually Mr. Yo leading at the moment. He's been quite quiet, I think. He sent a few crossbows out. It didn't really work too well. He's just booming up, and now he's starting to make some longboats of his own. And I think that's what makes this game interesting, You get that mix of land and water. You've got knights supported by longboats. Okay, then. What game is this? Age of Empires 2.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Melkor's actually going up to Imp. Wow. Obviously
Whoa.
being slung by his teammate and brother in Fëanor, but gonna be going for the fast imp longboat power play. Gotta love the expansions, man. Really get to see so many diverse and interesting strategies from these teams, and we'll have to see if that can pay off because Yo's gonna have an incredibly powerful longboat production of his own to counter that.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that right now Melkor is also losing his longboats to knights. The knights there doing quite well actually against the longboats here for the time being. Of course, longboats with no melee armor. Who would have thought?
No, that's why you need turtle ships. Turtle ships have, I believe, 6 and then 8 melee armor. Gotta go for the Koreans pick, but obviously these guys don't have the quite high IQ enough to go for those strats just yet. Sure, they'll get there.
Eventually, one day. But I just saw a little mangonel trade on this right side. And meanwhile, I was just fixing the overlay so it doesn't move around. But yeah, we got Lix pushing in pretty hard right here against the left flank of Melkor. I'm wondering what Fëanor is doing right now, apart from the sling, right? Like, is that sling going to be enough?
Well, it's obviously what Heresy's hinging their game on right now because Lix is, like you're saying, pushing down Melkor right now.
Yeah, I mean, Melkor's not looking particularly good at the moment. I mean, on the land, he doesn't really have anything. On the water, he suddenly has a lot of longboats. Careening's coming in as well. Ballistics, the Imperial Age, everything. But, if this land army moves to the back, and look at that castle from Lix as well, then those longboats can't do anything to actually protect him on the land.
Yeah, nothing whatsoever, but that is only 2 villagers, I believe, building a castle, so that will be quite a slow castle.
It'll take a while, yeah.
It'll take a hot minute, but, once the castle is up, that means that, of course, the organ guns will come out, and with their 7 range, we'll be able to harass these villagers quite a lot. Though it does seem like Melkor is going to be wresting back control of the water with those Imperial Age upgrades. Well, I guess just Bracer and Careening, which isn't even an Imperial Age upgrade. But the point remains, he's getting water back.
Yeah, meanwhile, on the east side of the map, Lan just lost a town center and every villager within it. Even monks from Fengjin getting a couple of villager conversions to help his forward out a little bit more. Really good stuff for SY right now. And if I had to wager on this game, I would say that SY are in a winning position. There's no question about it. The sling just won't do enough when, like I say, it's only helping Melkor to get more boats, and it does not help the fact that there is a castle, a lot of knights, and quite a few battering rams pushing through as well. Meanwhile, Lan is kind of dead as well. A similar problem for him. He's got war galleys, but they can't actually range all of this siege because they're too far inland.
Yeah, and I can't help but think that maybe Heresy just didn't understand that this map was not as, not so water dominant. Obviously, they went for the 4 really strong water civs and obviously made water a big part of their game plan. But it seems like SY is just totally circumventing that, just going for the land aggression. Unfortunately, there is no ability to, put some logs on the ground and roll the longboats, over land so the arrows can shoot the knights.
If only. If we were playing HD, maybe you could glitch them into the ground, but, we're not.
Fair point.
We're not. But yeah, at the moment, we see Melkor rushing up a defensive castle. That was a good move by him, even making a little berserk there to try and take that down a little quicker. I just find it quite amusing how SY have these forward bases behind enemy lines. It's kind of cool, and I think that with the Imperial Age coming in for Mr. Yo now, and the Imperial Age coming in for Yinghua, those guys aren't even the ones doing the forward aggression, and they're already Heresy are already struggling. Now that SY can start to bring their pocket players into the fight with Imperial Age units, things are going to get pretty tough.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 highest villager counts in the game, once again, this game go to Yo and Yinghua, who are just happily booming their little hearts out, and it's going to be, I think, almost impossible for the Heresy guys to keep up. And yeah, we have Elite Longboat coming in here for Yo. Honestly, I think a Tarkin switch would actually be insanely strong here for Fengshen if he so chose, as they'd be able to raid and deal with the Cav archers pretty well and deal with the ships pretty well if they came to that. But regardless, I think Yo might be able to power through with longboats. Probably Yinghua with the paladins. We'll have to see here if Heresy can defend.
Yeah, I'm feeling doubtful at the moment. Though with that said, Melkor is Imperial, so he was able to make a trebuchet from his castle. He can start to take that castle from Lix down. But Elite Longboat is now done for Yo. I'm going to see an engagement on the left side. Elite Longboat versus a regular Longboat. And that's going to allow Mr. Yo to come forward and actually drop a forward castle as well. Melkor being squeezed from all angles at the moment. And Mr. Yo will successfully deny that gold and stone if that castle goes up. For the time being, though, Melkor's coming in from the rear. It is Elite Longboat versus regular Longboat, but the numbers might just favor Melkor. He's also got the defender's
not if
advantage.
Yo comes in with some more reinforcements of his own.
Oh, yes, he's coming in with more. Okay, so that should be a clear victory for Yo there. Looks like Melkor's like, okay, I'm going to try and get a castle up, even though your castle is 97% completed, and GG is called.
Yeah, that wasn't going to happen. So SY storming back here in game number 2. Mostly land aggression with some longboat support from Yo, but the double forward on each side really working out pretty well there for SY. Now going to be SY being the aggressor in this game, really taking it to Heresy.
Yeah, I like that, and I did question it before. I said, you know, is SY going to change up their game plan a little bit in this second game? And it looks like they did. Looks like they were the ones to go all out on land aggression and get aggressive, and it worked out nicely. Also, I just noticed as well, Lix got in to Fëanor, and that's basically GG there. When your sling player is breached by knights and they're still in the feudal age, yeah, you're pretty screwed. So, well played to SY. They tie things up 1-1. All hope is not lost for Heresy yet, because there is a third game in this best of 3 series. I'm sure they're going to be happy with a 1-1. Well, sorry, a 1-0 to start with. But they're not going to give up, of course, and they're going to go into game 3 and try and convert that into a win as well.
Yeah, should be good. I believe the map should be Mongolia, so we're kind of going back to a more standard map, a map that is pretty similar to Arabia in the ECL variant. So it should just be a battle of raw mechanics and strategies here. Should be the best way to close out a series like this.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely the most standard. I mean, Salt Marsh is one of those maps which players haven't really played on before, which I think is interesting because it means that players probably have to spend a bit more time preparing. They can't just go into it and be like, okay, it's just another Arabia game. Let's do what we always do. It's probably more of a, okay, let's take a look at the map. Let's discuss some strategy. Let's think about what we're going to do here. And let's actually plan for this. And obviously, planning always pays off in the end. At least it paid off for SY this time around.
Yes, certainly. So I'm ready for game number 3. I want to see some Mongolia action.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I think just based on the civs that the teams have left, I'm trying to remember, i.e. open my Excel spreadsheet. Yeah, we should have, I think Indians probably would be a really strong pick here. And then beyond that, maybe just Burmese.
Not the Mongols.
Well, Mongols have already been played.
I know, they have. But not playing the Mongols in Mongolia. What is this?
ECL?
What is this backward peasantry? It should be the Mongols in Mongolia. And, well, I guess the Mongols also lived on the steppe, so never mind that. Right.
Well, Mongolia is a steppe.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, well, welcome back to the steppe. This time it's the Mongolian version. We are on game number 3, Heresy versus SY. And it's tied 1-1, so the winner takes it right here. We're going to see some new civs. We're going to see some new strats. And we're going to see a new map. Welcome to the game, Ornley.
Yeah, well, thanks for welcoming me. It's nice to be here. Of course, losing game number 2, wanting to make the big upset happen. We will have Heresy here, again, in the sort of northeastern bit of the map, with Fëanor on the right flank in the yellow as the Malians. His pocket in the orange as the Slavs will be Lan. The other pocket in the red as the Indians will be Melkor. And finally, on the top flank in the purple as the Khmer will be Spring.
I love how everyone says Khmer. Like, what? Khmer? Yeah, Khmer. Didn't really think that they would be picked, to be honest, but here they are. And we don't see the same on the other side because to the northwest in the green, it's Lix playing as the Slavs. Mr. Yo in the pocket once again in the teal playing as the Japanese. The other pocket player, Feng Jin, playing as the Mayans in the grey. And to the south in the blue, we have Yinghua playing as the Indians. I have to say, I think I like the SY team civs better.
That is true. I totally agree, but I don't like their positions. I think they'd want them perfectly inverted, where you have Slavs and Indians in the pocket and Japanese and Mayans on the flank. So that's going to be kind of a bummer, I think, for SY. I feel like they're probably going to have to adjust their game plan from what they want because, I mean, not only is like Japanese in the pocket, but look how far away Yo is from like everybody else on the map.
He's got himself a nice little corner, hasn't he? Sort of. I mean, he's really pushed up against the edge of the map here, which is interesting because it means he has to expand forward away from the edge of the map, and he can't really retreat backwards at all. But he's definitely very safe in that position. It will take the Heresy team probably quite a long time to scout him, actually. I wonder if anyone would ever even get close for a little while.
Oh wait, this is a bugged map? They didn't call a restart, but there's like this random tile of stone that I feel like is probably something important for Yo that he doesn't have.
Where? Oh,
In
wow.
his
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting. All right.
that would probably be his main stone that he doesn't have.
Oh. Okay. Fascinating. Yeah, that probably would be his main stone because he's got a second stone.
Yeah, just from a cursory glance, it seems like Yo's going to be playing with less tiles of stone than every other player in this game. So that's going to be pretty weird. Japanese not a super stone reliant civ, but I mean, probably late game, you probably are going to want to get some samurai up and running. Japanese keeps are incredibly strong to push with, and yeah, I'm kind of surprised that
Yeah,
they didn't call Re there.
you got to get those Yasama towers going, right? Otherwise, what's the point in even playing the Japanese?
I mean, they're really good, Zach.
and samurai. I mean, come on, everyone plays samurai. It's the core component of the Japanese army. Though it's actually not bad to have samurai in the late game, though. To be honest, I mean, it does depend on what you're up against, but they're pretty reasonable. But in this game, it's probably just going to be Arbalest, right? He can actually do
from the
scouts.
pocket?
Well, no, I mean like he can do scouts now, and he can do knights and cavalier maybe, but he'll probably end up going Arbs late game.
Yeah, of course. And that would make sense, but it's just he's so far away from everybody. Those Arbs are going to have quite the journey ahead of them as far as getting to the rest of his team, unless Yo does something like put the archer ranges forward to better support Lix. But, I mean, we might get this really weird position for SY, like I was saying. They want their positions inverted. So it's Lix is going to probably be forced to go for archers, as is Yinghua, which is not really something they want to be doing, whereas Malians for Fëanor, totally fine going for archers. Khmer, they don't really want to do anything other than elephants and scorpions, but, I mean, the archers will work just fine in the meantime.
Yeah, that is true. They will work just fine for now, but we'll see how this develops. It's not completely out of the question that the players will sort of build their buildings forward or try something a little funny, but it looks like Feng Jin is actually just trying to focus on walling up at the moment. He's fully walling as best he can, and for him, walling is not so straightforward because of how far forward away from the edge of the map he is. He actually has a larger distance to wall as a result. But, you know, this map, Mongolia, supposed to be quite an easy wallable map, but it's actually still quite open, even with the cliffs all around the place.
Yeah, we do, definitely, but we do have some boarding coming in here from Lix. Spring, I have no idea what Spring is doing.
Spring is fighting with villagers.
He's going up at 854 with some militia. So it's like a men-at-arms rush, but it's like a minute late.
It's not really a rush at this point.
It's a men-at-arms stroll.
It's a men-at-arms slow. He will maybe not. I think he has to do men-at-arms, right? If Lix does men-at-arms here, otherwise they'll just turn this around. He does have the support of Melkor, though, with 3 scouts. And where's Mr. Yo, meanwhile? His scouts are on the way over. But, yeah, they're going to be a little while before they get over there. And he actually added 5 militia in the end. So please do men-at-arms here.
So I guess this just begs the question, why Khmer, right? Because the point of Khmer in the early game is that you're equal to the barrack to go for the archers or the scouts. But obviously Spring did that anyway, because he went for the militia here. So it's like, what's the advantage of this Civ, though? Looks like Melkor will be able to snipe the Veil, quite nice for him.
Yeah, that's very nice. And denying the berries as well, which is also nice, as the Slav player here is... What is the Slab player doing, actually? I don't see a second...
Making farms.
I don't
That's
see
all
a
you need.
second building from him. It's just a barracks. So
No, the second building is farms, Zach. That's all you need.
Of course, right. Yeah, I forgot. So more farms required from Lix. And towers to buy him time to build more farms. Got it.
Exactly. This is what playing Slavs is all about. I hear some dead villager sounds, and it looks like this tower was snuck around here for Lix. Does have these men-at-arms here, and of course, in a straight-up battle, they will do quite well against the scouts, and definitely a nice little engagement there for our SY team.
Yeah, I have no idea why Melkor engaged that. Spring was nowhere in sight, and he's like, okay, just gonna send the scouts in there. Oh, wait, they died? What? How? What? Yeah, that was a really questionable engagement. You know, the men-at-arms are actually pretty formidable. And now he's pushed right back, and it looks like Lix is looking for another tower opportunity. Scouts here supported... Oh, sorry, the men-at-arms here supported by the scouts of Yo, which are actually quite low. I mean, other than that, though, like, you asked the Khmer, why the Khmer? I mean, maybe they're thinking about the late game, how the Khmer... could take that. Obviously, they are very strong. Well, they have great elephants. The ballista elephants can be really good if they're massed up, although they're incredibly expensive and difficult to mass. But if they do that, then they can be very, very strong. And against the Slavs and against the Japanese, they could work out quite well, actually.
That's actually, I think, probably a time for the Scorpions to shine.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a definite possibility. Oh, careful, Lix. Losing a villager, almost lost 2 villagers, just got on the tower in the last second. But tower will be established for both players. Now Spring is throwing away more archers for no adequately explored reason, though arriving with men-at-arms will be enough to at least clean up most of these forward villagers from Lix.
Yeah, it's pretty good here. They should clean up this tower, I think. Obviously, the scouts from Yo coming in. A couple of those were quite low already, but Mr. Yo does have more to come to the fight here. It's going to be quite even trades both ways, I think. Oh, actually, no. I'm off with that. It's actually a much favorable trade for SY at the moment. We see Melkor losing 10, killing just 7, and Spring losing 15, killing just 5. Meanwhile, Yinghwa's coming over to the party here. He was... told that there would be free villager snacks, and he came over with some scouts to pick one off, so getting that nicely. But at the moment, yes, SY have a lot of map control. We've not really watched down in the south of the map too much. It seems to be very quiet over there for the time being.
Yeah, I've glanced over to the south of the map.
I see them. Fëanor and Lan blending in nicely to the map here have actually breached Feng Jin's base.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're right. Gotta need to turn colorblind mode on for me. But yeah, their Lan and Fëanor here will be doing a ton of damage. This looks like all of my game designs, man. Get to the castle age, you want to get that castle up, but then like a bunch of feudal age units are there killing all of your villagers.
Ooh,
oh boy, this
so
is
good.
A disaster.
That's so good for Heresy, right? I mean,
yeah.
the castle will go up, but the delay and the amount of villagers lost and all of this, all things considered, that's so good for them. And Fëanor can sit under that castle as well and just be annoying for a while. Feng Jin's so much idle time. Look at this. 12 idle villas in that castle right there.
Yeah, and then just in terms of dead vills, he lost, I think, like 7 or 8 or something like that. That is not what you want at this point. And because he did go for the FC, he doesn't really have any upgrades for these plumed archers. So even then, they're not as intimidating as they
Oh
might be.
god, more villagers dying as well. Oh, he
Oh
managed to hop one in.
no.
He managed to get one into the castle before it died. But unbelievable stuff here. Fëanor's just doubling down and still manages to pick off another villager. So it looks like Feng Xin's eco is a little bit bad right now. Lan's eco is not looking too great either, but he's already up to the castle age and already has the stable down. Second and third TC on the way up. Pretty much unharassed.
Zach, did you
as
just
well.
say a Slav player who's in the pocket economy is not looking great?
Well, I meant in terms of villagers, he's kind of far behind everyone else on his team.
I mean,
but does he need them if he has Slavic farms? That's
exactly.
the question, right?
He's getting PCs 2 and 3 up. I mean,
that's true.
His economy is probably going to be insane right now, right?
Yeah, it's Slavs though, exactly, right. Yeah, it's probably pretty solid. I mean, I'm just looking at that and saying, you know, well, he's at 36 vills, and meanwhile, Melkor, the Indian player, is at 44. So...
But Melkor is still in the feudal age.
That's true. That's true. Don't just look at the overlay. Consider the context. Lesson learned.
Come on, Zach. Procaster.
Well, Mr. Yo also up to the castle age as well, starting to make some knights now, as expected. The Japanese player, for the time being, will make knights and cavalier. The question is, what will he do in the imperial age? I imagine he'll switch away from that. But Mayan player not being a menace just yet. The castle is up, the plumed archers are coming out, but they've yet to find the target.
Yeah, of course, now in the expansions that Japanese get bloodlines, they are at least a much more serviceable pocket. You know, any civ that has knights with bloodlines is going to be at least, you know, decent. And I think that really goes a long way in making the civ a lot more viable in team games, because they are an incredibly strong flank civ, in my opinion. But even if you do happen to get unlucky and get them in the pocket, you can at least get some stuff done with them. And I think you should be able to bail out Lix right now, who does have a bit of a knight infestation in his base.
Yeah, we also have a plumed archer and camel infestation in the base of Fëanor as well, running away all those vills from the gold, getting out of the wood line as well there. He was not ready for that at all. He does have quite a few archers out, but, you know, against plumed archers and camels, what is he going to do? He's not even clicked up to the castle age. This is a disaster right here for our yellow player.
Oh, yeah, it is not good. And just really late castle age time from Fëanor, I guess, because he was planning on slinging again, but...
No, because he made so many archers, right? Like they pushed Feng Xin really hard. But now this is the problem. You've got like plumed archers versus regular archers, and that just doesn't work too well for the regular archers.
No, I mean, really, the plumes on the gray archers' heads really give them so much more HP and armor. You can really see the power of those feathers. But yeah, not really liking Heresy's position whatsoever right now, because we're going to be seeing a big old pikeman plus siege push here from Lix, which can be really strong with Slavs. I think it's kind of an underrated strategy with them. And the camels are just going to not do anything against that.
Yeah, you know, I just think that Fëanor should have committed to a full sling or committed to making army, right? Because now he's spent so many resources on all those archers. He made like 30 archers in the course of the game. If he'd have just focused on maybe walling up properly and then slinging properly, I think it might have worked better than kind of, you know, going halfway on both.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I was surprised, because at first I thought I did see that Fëanor slinging Melkor, but then, you know, I went back and I saw that he wasn't fully stonewalled and he had all those archers. Like, wait, is he not slinging? But yeah, you're right. It's kind of like now, this sort of like half-hearted, like doing both, which is never going to work. But now pikemen engaging the camels of Melkor. Yes, the camels are fairly well upgraded, but can't really engage without the support of Spring, who's not quite up to the castle age yet. Mangonel could get some huge shots here.
It's coming.
These archers are so clipped up.
Yeah.
Oh my god, no!
What? How did that do no damage? I mean, like, come on, that killed a single. That has to be the most disappointing Mangonel shot in the history of this game.
Oh my god!
What was that? Lix, you need to have a word with your engineers, because they clearly loaded that Mangonel. See, this is why the trebuchet is the superior siege weapon.
Obviously.
God damn it. Right, well, a forward castle from Lix. This is looking super good for SY right here. That might even range the tower here, so they can start to hit that gold.
Well, not if you are forced to cancel the castle. Okay, no. The Mangonel coming in will just do some dancing back and forth between the crossbows, the villagers, and the mangonels, but I think that the pikeman support, as well as the knights, should be enough to protect these villagers while they do get this castle established, and that will probably deny the main gold of our purple player Spring, and again, just further compounding the really rough position that Heresy is in, but Lan is on his way to the Imperial Age.
Oh, okay. Lan on the way up to Imp. Is that enough, though? Really? At the moment, look at Fëanor's base. It's gone. Look at Spring's base. Well, it's nearly gone. Lan now going Imp is not going to save them here, I think. Not at this rate, anyway.
Yeah, Melkor is down, and Yo is clicking up, so very quick uptimes to the Imperial Age. Not a whole lot of just right now. This has to favor the team that has 4 people playing as opposed to 2, right?
Yes, I guess. I just don't know what they were thinking here, really. It was kind of like a, well, let's sling, but actually let's also make some feudal army, and then it's kind of rough. I really like the fact that Lix went for that pike and mangonel combo, like you said. They knew they had an Indian pocket here, and just going straight into pike is so smart.
Yeah, especially when you know that you're not up against a super powerful archer civ in Khmer. I mean, Spring doesn't even have +2 for his crossbowman. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, the pikemen aren't even going to be under that much threat. Slavs have the powerful, boom eco of food and wood, so you can afford the pikemen, and of course the cheaper siege to compound that. I think really strong strategy when you know you have an Indian pocket to deal with.
You know what I also really don't like? I don't like the Slav player trying to go Imp so fast. It's like, okay, he's going to go Cavalier now against, like, mass Indian camels. And pikes.
Yeah.
I just feel like the Slavs are better off just making a big push in the Castle Age, like we saw here, and leave that late game play to the Mayans and the Indians, like on the SY team if you're SY, and if you're on the other team, leave it to the Malians and the Indians or the Khmer as well. Like, just let the Slavs do their thing in the Castle Age and give you that sort of presence on the map.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Obviously, on the flank, you see the pike plus siege push, but I think it's totally smart if you're in Lan's position in the pocket. Just make a ton of stables like he's doing now, but if he did it earlier, just went for 3-4 stable knights off of a 3 TC eco, boom up to 4 even 5 TCs, just go for a huge Castle Age play. I think that could have done wonders in, helping his teammate be not dead.
His teammate be not dead. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Fëanor would love to be not dead right now. He's rebuilding his TC up in the north. Since he's in the feudal age, he can only have 1, so it's going to be a while before he is able to contribute much at the moment with only 24 villagers on the map. It looks like Yinghua is going to find the Cavalier of Yatlan as well. And maybe, I don't know, is there a way that Heresy can turn this around? With Fëanor completely out of the game, I think it's incredibly unlikely.
Spring just ate a huge mangonel hit on his crossbows. And the crossbows were already getting killed by pikemen, never a great sign. But yeah, this is looking incredibly rough here for our Heresy team. Really just Yinghua needs to wait until he gets heavy camel, and I think he should be able to take this no problem. Slavs, of course, missing the paladin upgrade. Not going to really be able to keep up with the Indians at all, I feel. And yeah, I just feel like, especially in this series, Yo and Yinghua have just been kind of like the bit quieter in the early to mid game, but just, getting to these huge economies and just probably going to be steamrolling people as the Halbs and Imp Camels possibly clean up this game.
And meanwhile, the Yo has switched into Halberdier himself. Obviously not going to commit to going Cavalier, the Cavalier route. For now, it looks like just purely infantry pushing into Melkor's base, and it's quite nice. You don't see that too often, do you? Spring doing what Spring does best. He's like, okay, what do I do? Let's go Cavalry Archer. Looks like that will work quite nicely as the castle gets denied and the cavalry archers will start to range these pikemen. Interesting fight here as well as Lan comes in. It looks like they're all coming together, Lan, Melkor, and Spring, to try and stop this push from Lix and Yo, and it looks like it has worked for the time being as well.
Yes, but they're only taking out Lix's buildings, if that. And Yo still has 5 barracks here, and they're just going to keep on trading that are just so cheap, and they're just going to be so insanely cost efficient. Those camels just melting to the Mr. Pokepokes here of our Cyan player. And oh no, some of the camels getting a little bit cornered as well. And of course, yeah, it's going to be GG. The Cav Archers from Spring, Khmer Cav Archers are terrible. They don't have Thumb Ring. I talk about it all the time, and yeah, it's just too many people are way too dead here for Heresy, and we will see our SY team pull in the reverse sweep.
Yes, Yinghua also killing off the Cavalier from Lan as well. And at this point in the game, Lan would quite like to switch into Halberdier and make that play, but I feel like they're too slow. They won't be able to catch up at this point. If you're going to make that Halberdier play, I think you need to do it with a teammate, and you need to be pushing aggressively with it. If you're trying to chase down camels with Halberdier, you're not going to catch them. And so trying to move them over there slowly, by the time you arrive, Yinghua can just run away, and he's already done the damage. So GG called, and the SY team will take their victory 2-1 over Heresy.
Yeah, and exactly, and I think that is pretty much how I would summarize that game. And I think that yes, Heresy had a very good game number 1. Their aggression really paid off, and I'm surprised that they didn't really follow up on it in games 2 and 3. They really could have gone, I think, for more aggression in the the latter games, and they just kind of got punished by the superior mechanics of the SY player.
Yeah, likely. I think they probably should have been maybe more aggressive in this game instead of going for the sling with Fëanor. Just like commit to making, a bigger aggression with all players. I feel like that was it was a bit confusing seeing Fëanor making so many archers and then switching to a sling. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, to be honest. I think that in this game they needed to be more aggressive. They needed to hold the map control because of how open the map is as well. Similar to Steppe, right? Like, it's such an open map, and this map turns out to be pretty open also. So having that map control is really valuable, especially if you've got civs like the Khmer and the Slavs, which are typically a lot slower to sort of mobilize, and they have slower moving units.
Yeah, certainly. But, in the end, we will sort of get our sort of expected result. Probably not in as dominant a fashion as SY would have wanted, but they are going to get the win there, and I believe they will be going up against the winner of our next series.